Good morning.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Situational Awareness Matters, real talk with real people. Today's show is titled Guardians of the Border, Navigating the Threats North and South. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today as we take a deep dive into the complexities of security at our northern and southern borders. It is a most complex issue, and we're bringing in different perspectives to shed light on the subtle and not so subtle nuances. I am your host, Lee Schwartzberg. With me, as always, my esteemed co-hosts, Rennie Archambault and Chet Babcock. Good morning, gents. If you would please tell our listeners about your colorful past and our credentials so they have an understanding of who we are. Rennie.
So I got a 24-year law enforcement career. I'm still at it. Most of the time as a police officer, 6 years with the U.S. Department of State Diplomatic Security Service. We were tasked with securing diplomacy and protecting the integrity of U.S. travel documents. The Diplomatic Security Service has the largest global reach of any U.S. federal law enforcement agency in the world, with offices in 29 U.S. cities and more than 270 locations around the world. I also spent 2 years with the Stratford County Sheriff's Office, Stratford County, New Hampshire. We had the ICE contract, so we used to pick up illegal border crosses on the Canadian border because we had an ICE facility right behind our county jail. So I'm pretty good on that subject matter too. And that wraps it up for me.
Excellent. Chet, if you would, please.
I will. 35 years in public safety experience on the southwest border, 10 of those in fire EMS and 25 in law enforcement. During that time, I worked Indian reservations, freeway interdiction units for human trafficking and narcotics interdiction, assorted narcotics task forces, and so forth and so on. I also spent a year with the Afghan border cops on the Islam-Kuala border with Iran.
Wow, gents are very colorful. Now, I am a 10-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps, fought in 2 different operations in combat. I am also a 20-year veteran EMS guy, and my federal government work is not as 3-letter agency as both of you. However, moving forward, we don't tell you our stories to impress you, rather to impress upon you that this is not a fact-finding or internet search regurgitation that we're about to cover here. Each of us has been there and done that, and we're sharing our opinions based on those experiences. All right, let's get right to the heart of this conversation. The U.S.-Canada border. The northern border is one of the longest borders in the entire free world, and far too many instances have been reported of individuals attempting to enter the U.S. from Canada with ties to potential terrorism. Mr. Producer, if you put up the first link for us, please. While waiting on that, there it is. The Washington Examiner.
Members of Congress and the White House have been issuing warnings about short
There it is.
form video app TikTok for weeks in regards to data privacy concerns. TikTok creators are protesting in front of the Capitol to prevent Congress from issuing a total ban. The possibility of the White House issuing a ban on TikTok first emerged last week, when the Biden administration reportedly told Chinese internet company ByteDance to sell its shares in the app or face losing the entire U.S. market. Though some lawmakers expressed concerns about the Chinese government gaining access to U.S. data long before Biden's ultimatum.
I want to ban TikTok for a very simple reason. They allow the Chinese Communist Party to gain access to all of the private data on any device in America that's using TikTok. That's our kids, that's phones connected to our kids' phones.
Now, TikTokers are mobilizing in support of the app. Some say that the app is many creators' sole source of income, and a ban would be devastating to their livelihoods.
There are many creators here too that are their businesses from TikTok. All the people here, many of them, 95% of Sparks of Joy, her income is from TikTok.
Other protesters say that threats to ban the app are not due to national security concerns at all, but instead xenophobia, or efforts to boost public support for the Biden administration.
We're having some tensions with China right now, and so the politicians are saying, hey, we can't be seen as soft on China, so we need to go out and we need to take a strong stand against TikTok. Well, the problem with that is most of those congressmen are using one of these right here. This is an iPhone made in China.
But after a strong push from Republicans to regulate TikTok in the U.S., Democrats have also come around to the idea that TikTok could be a threat to national security.
We're here today at the Bergen County Justice Center, right, to sound the alarm and take action against the threats TikTok and.
All right, so that's another version of the security portion that we were talking about. Not exactly the border security that we were trying to discuss today. However, gentlemen, Washington Examiner has said that there's been 284 suspected terrorists apprehended so far in fiscal year 23. Chet, I know you have some information on that. You want to give us your thoughts on that real quick?
Sure. We're still on the northern border here, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of issues there. That's a kind of an ignored section for our security profile here. And as you said earlier, it's a huge border. There's not a lot there, but it's almost a direct access from China and Russia through Alaska and going into Canada and then crossing our border. There's been multiple crossings and almost as many as with the southern border. So that's something that definitely needs to be looked at a little bit more.
Randy, your thoughts?
Yeah, there have been more illegals caught in 2023 in the past 11 months alone than in the last 10 years combined. And these are all approximately 6,100 people from about 76 different countries. And an interesting tidbit. The state of New Hampshire has a contract with Customs and Border Patrol. We haven't got enough state troopers up north. So CBP also patrols New Hampshire territory, highways and byways and whatever. And the governor just signed a contract with CBP last week, offering our services, state police, to assist CBP should the need arise with problems on the border. And there are problems on the border. Now, let me just spin off real quick. This all started in January of 2020 when former President Trump and his wife got on a helicopter and departed. Not 30 seconds after those wheels were off the ground, the executive order was signed. The borders were open. Border walls were being taken down with one agenda. That was to get in voters, build their voting base, and steal the 2024 election. Anybody wants to prove me wrong or debate it, get in touch with me.
All right. Mr. Producer, can you put up the second piece that we were looking at earlier? The post-millennial northern border sector one. There it is.
Yate, weren't married yet. It is 6 years since the events of President Trump's inauguration. Just showed you a video compilation of that. Now, you're not going to see those types of videos online. You're not going to see those types of videos on the mainstream media. You're not going to see those types of pictures probably anywhere. Because nobody likes to talk about the fact that when Antifa attacked, they called it J20, Trump's inauguration. They were specifically attempting to stop him from being inaugurated as the 45th president of the United States. Now, I was there that day. I was there with the beautiful and lovely Tanya Tay. We weren't married yet. I was also there with my brother. And we remember the attacks, hundreds of Antifa spilling out of vehicles, coming up from the subways. And by the way, they weren't attacking the government. They weren't attacking Trump directly. They were attacking civilians. They were attacking citizens. They were attacking people just walking down the street. Innocent businesses that had nothing to do with anything. Now,
All right. So, real quick, Jeff B. Yes, there are more than one way to breach our borders. And though TikTok definitely is one of them, that TikTok problem's not the media, right? I agree with you all on that. The challenge is always going to be, and with everything and any sort of government or intervention, if you will, it's always going to be, what are they hiding? What are they not hiding? And then when are we going to find this out, right? So the next one we're going to look at is the northern border sector sees 550% increase in illegal crossings. Mr. Producer, if you'd be so kind as to put that up, please. Not the video so much as the stand by while we just figure this out. Technical issue here.
While he's putting it up, I just want to thank Faco's World for his comment. He agrees 100% with me. It's the truth.
Well, you want to think anyone agrees 100% with you, right?
I was right once in my lifetime.
Well, there's more than once, right? So
Yeah.
it's all good. All right, while we're waiting for that, let's talk about real quick about the enforcement of immigration laws, right? So moving right along, let's delve into the enforcement of it. It seems pretty straightforward. It's about playing by the rules, and if we've got laws, let's follow them. Immigration laws are not open to interpretation. It's really not about being harsh. It's about maintaining order. Gents, what are your thoughts about this next statement? It's not about keeping everyone out. It's about controlling who can come in.
Well,
Right.
let me sum it up for you real quick. I won't take up much of your time. Show me one flipping immigration law that's been enforced since 2020. I'll take you to the finest steakhouse and I'll buy you any meal you want. Okay? No immigration laws have been enforced since 2020. None. Zero. Zippity doo dah.
All right, Rennie.
Okay, my turn.
Chet,
Boy, do I have some thoughts on this subject.
let's get it.
All right, I'm gonna preface this by saying that none of us here are anti-immigration or anti-immigrant in any way, shape, or form. What we are is anti-illegal immigration. Okay, there's a process for this, and it goes back decades. This has been a problem forever. I don't know why in the world our government can't get their shit together and figure out how to do this. It's like it's got to be intentional. There are, as there are with gun controls, there are a gazillion laws in the books. None of them are enforced. Now, I have personal experience on what it takes to get an immigrant here from another country. It's a long, tedious, expensive, drawn-out process if you try to do it the right way. And there's absolutely no excuse for that, for what these folks have to go through to get here. As far as illegal immigration is concerned, we're dealing with a very uneducated, naive group of folks, for the most part, that come across. That's how it used to be anyway in the old days. Now I'm not really sure you see them walking across the border with iPhones and designer jeans and all the rest. There's got to be more to that subject. But as you said, Rennie, enforce the laws that are already there, but they're not doing that. Nobody's willing to take that step. This would be so easy to fix with like a guest worker program or anything like that. And they just flatly won't do it. And you mentioned maybe for voters of some kind, or amnesty, or I'm not sure what their end game is, but there's got to be a way around this. And
that's been their plan all along.
Exactly.
To extend some sort of amnesty to these people that are here illegally and suck them into the voter base. Like, for instance, Wyoming has 35,000 people. California has over 36 million. They're sucking them into different areas. Look what they did in Minnesota. That was all Barack Obama. He put the Somali population up in Minnesota. You got Ilhan Omar up there. Now she's in Congress and she's running the whole show. That's their game plan, is to strategically place these illegal immigrants Oh, by the way, her brother supposedly left her for a goat that I heard. But anyway, it's another story for another day. But that's their game plan. They want to steal 2024, and they're going to do it by hook or by crook, by any way or any means necessary.
Yeah, so back in the old days, this was all about the work. I grew up with these folks. We had them on the ranch all the time. Every year, branding roundup, we go round up a bunch of wetbacks and bring them across the border to work the roundups and the brandings. Our bunkhouse manager was an illegal that had been around forever. He's the guy that taught me how to drive when I was 13 years old. Sadly, in that same cattle truck that he taught me how to drive, and he drove it off a cliff and killed himself when he was drunk. But anyway, that's another story. So the point being, it was all about the work. These folks would come here to the U.S., they would work, and they would send the money, and they'd go back home 3 or 4 times a year. Now it's so far beyond that. They're told, these folks, between the cartels and the money involved there and our government, they're told that the streets of America are paved in gold. The cartels and Mexican government both produce little comic books, because a lot of these folks can't read, explaining what to do when you're contracted by La Migra, Border Patrol, and how to act around them. If you're crossing the southern border, where the water stations are, so they can get water as they're crossing the desert, so they don't die. And then the cartels, like I said, there's pictures of them walking into America, and the streets are literally paved with gold. And that's what these folks think that they're going to find when they get here. And it's sadly, that's not what happens at all. So, it's not about the work anymore, I guess, and it's a 3-pronged offense here between the cartels, our government, and unscrupulous employers. This is actually human. This is it's slavery is pretty much what this is. It's human trafficking for the purpose of slavery. Okay, I'm done for the moment.
I just want Faco's World. We're going to have him on the show. He's got some great points, man. Just look at him.
Yeah, I was just reading that.
He just confirmed
Absolutely.
to me that the goat was stolen from his neighbor. So I mean, this guy's good. I love him. Mr. B's awesome too, but Faco's really hitting it today.
All right, Chad, you hit on some really good points about. Did someone say something?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so some really good points on that, right? And we've covered these in past podcasts about how immigration laws and trafficking and drug trafficking and body parts trafficking. We're going to get to that, but let's just talk about something here that it's going to be a hot point, a hot button, if you will, right? And okay, the border wall. My New York accent gets a little out of control sometimes. It's been a hot topic, right? What's the thinking behind using a physical barrier as a deterrent? It's not just a wall, it's a message. It says we're serious about controlling who comes in. It's about protecting our nation. All right. Mr. Producer, please pick up that other clip from Trump, please.
Online, they have a number of these propaganda accounts that push out their material, and their material will include like the pictures and also these posts about essentially calling for putting a call out for other militants from around the country to heed the call and to join their autonomous zone. When I'm describing all this, it sounds actually very similar to Islamic State, doesn't it? And the Caliphate. Do you remember that? When let's go back to 2013, 14, 15, they used Twitter at that time to call for Muslims all around the world to make a religious pilgrimage to the new Caliphate that was established in territory that is in Syria and Iraq. And lots of Muslims did do that, and they went and they became jihadist fighters. They became brides of jihadists. They were terrorists who killed people, who helped abduct people. And, the space that was meant to be a utopia for Muslims was horrific, and all sorts of human rights atrocities were committed. I mean, we're talking about mass killings done on camera that was disseminated, really brutal, horrific murders, setting people on fire and recording them being burnt to death, putting them into cages and lowering them into water until they drown, and then pulling up the bodies so you could see what they look like. And they've recorded all these things because in their...
All right. So that video is just discussing something we're going to get to here shortly. But what I want to talk about is during the fiscal year 2023, right? This year we're in right now, U.S. Customs Border Patrol identified 151 known terrorists at the southwest border, 264 since Biden took office, with more than 1.5 million known gotaways, which is interesting because if we know 1.5 million got away, how many do we don't know about that got away? Countless dangerous individuals could have clandestinely entered the country. For instance, there has been a steady increase in the number of walls since 1989 worldwide, with notable surges in 2005 and 2015. 14 walls were built in 2015 alone. As of 2018, there are 63 physical walls worldwide. That was a tongue twister. All right. So, gents, your opinion on the walls. What do we think? Rennie?
What walls?
Well, there you have it, right? The one
Well,
we spoke. The
right
one we
after,
spoke about.
again, right after the wheels of the helicopter were off the ground, Biden signed an executive order. The cranes were out there taking the walls down. Now, let me say this. Russia has a program where they use illegal border crosses to get their fighters into Ukraine. And China's employing the same tactics here in the United States through the southern border and possibly the northern border as well, getting their fighters into this country. God knows how many are here right now, But as far as you want to comment on border walls, border walls, they took them down. And then when Texas, God bless his soul, when Greg Abbott tried to take it upon himself to put the walls back up, he's ended up with his ass in federal court. They sue him.
Yeah, border walls it's just part of your security system. For your house, for example, let's say you have a sidewalk and a driveway, and you put a fence up by the sidewalk, right, to keep your dog in, keep your kids out from running in the street, and so nobody walks in without you. You have a gate on your driveway, right? When you get to your front door, you have a door. On that door is a lock. Well, the only thing we have on the border right now is there are sections of walls that are used to funnel people through, more or less, is the purpose of that. But that's not really what's happening. You need a wall, you need surveillance systems. There are how many thousands of miles of unoccupied space. Unless you've been down to that area, like GSV or that part of the country, you have no idea how immense it actually is. You can literally go for days without seeing another human being. So the number of terrorists and known terrorists crossing that wide open space is, again, that's been around for a long time. I recall finding prayer rugs and Korans that had been left behind in illegal alien pickup points for 20 years ago. So all that tells me is that they've been populating sleeper cells here in the U.S. forever.
Right.
It's going to be a problem that we're going to have to deal with at some point.
Right. Now, let's talk about something else other than just terror cells, right? What are they bringing in besides that? Let's talk about counterfeit goods. Let's talk about, Rennie, you're chomping at the bit. What you got, bud?
Fentanyl. I can't tell you when I was with the sheriff's department how many, can they say the F word? No.
Yeah, of course.
I can't tell you how many fucking fentanyl trials I sat through. Okay. One of them involving the fucking cartels coming through the border. Okay. That's one thing they're bringing in. How about all the countless millions of others? Guns. How about trafficking? Let's not stop at fentanyl. Let's keep going. human trafficking, sex trafficking, organ harvesting. Let's just keep going. The list can grow from here to December 25th.
Well, yeah, but according to our government, though, all those things are being flown in. They're not crossing the border.
Oh,
According to them, which is bullshit. We all know that.
Listen, I got something in my pocket here. I can sell you if you want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we all know that. But according to them, that's what their excuse is. Which, what that tells me is if all of these people and these counterfeit goods and these illegal drugs and weapons and everything else are being flown in spite of TSA, spending billions of dollars on TSA and having a secure air transport facility has completely failed if that's what's actually happening.
Well, the other part of that is, right, and this is very limited in discussion worldwide, is these undocumented illegal aliens that get through the borders and don't do the paperwork and don't do the health screening checks.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You see my point there?
Yep.
What are they bringing in?
Yep. Tuberculosis, polio, typhoid fever, STDs.
Let's
AIDS,
go. Hey, let's
hepatitis.
let's
ABC.
go with the new. Let's
Hold
go
on,
with
hold
the
on,
new
hold on, hold on.
RSV and
Hold on. Farco's World wants to buy what's in your pocket, Rennie. As long as it ain't the London Bridge, she won't fall for it twice, he said.
I ain't gonna like it. It's for sale. I can grow it.
Yeah.
It's not Pinocchio's nose either.
Right.
Farco,
So-
I love you, brother.
When he also said when they destroy our streets, they're venting. When they destroy a government building, it's a terrorist attack, right? I say this every podcast that we cover this particular venue. One man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. It all depends on what side of the block you're reading it from. So
when they destroy our streets, they destroy a little bit of our society.
Mm-hmm. Our civilization.
They destroy a little bit of us, a little bit of our fabric, a little bit of what we're all about, a little bit of what we were founded upon.
100%, right? So, moving right along, let's just talk about, this is another hard topic for me. Let's shift gears towards the economy, right? Chet, you mentioned this briefly. Rennie, you mentioned this briefly. The alleged war on drugs, human trafficking, counterfeit consumables, right? There was just a $2 million bust in Manhattan and Queens for counterfeit clothing and handbags. We all know, everyone loves a thief. Everyone hates a thief, but they all love what a thief has to offer, right? Let's not forget gangbangers who sneak in or have been smuggled across the border carrying dangerous diseases, both intentionally and unintentionally, and we lost life. And there's a direct connection. Weak borders mean more drug trafficking. It's not theory, it's not fact. Rennie?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Your thoughts on that? It's
on
theory,
the
not
economics. Okay, so I don't want to get too far ahead. We're going to have an economics expert on next week anyway. But economic-wise, they're destroying us because every illegal thing, everything that happens has an equal and opposite reaction. And either way, money's flowing out to pay for this. Government's instituting big government spending programs. Early on, many years ago, when we had the high interest rates on the mortgages, that was fine because they brought the cost down on something else. Well, that's not happening.
Rennie,
Okay?
we're going to cut to a commercial break and then we'll get right back to you. All right, gents.
Okay.
Take a deep breath, drink some water. All right. Welcome back.
Global Elite Tactical Training. I love it.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's pretty cool.
Chet, you want to give us a little bit about that?
Sure. Based in Central Florida, we pretty much travel worldwide. It's a company that I work with. I'm their range safety officer. If you're looking for some good training, look them up online. The website address is down there on the bottom.
Excellent. I did not know you were the RSO.
Yeah. I'm like a
right, cool.
NRA certified and all that stuff.
Wow. You all sorts of three-letter powerful.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
But I can't.
Real quick before we get back to you, Jeff B. Absolutely. China feeds the Mexicans with drugs. Mexicans make fortunes while China poisons Americans into addiction and death. They buy our farmlands. That's a topic for a whole nother podcast. So we all agree on that. And Farco, that's an interesting concept you just put up there.
I like that concept.
Yeah. Very interesting. And I didn't think about it from that
Makes
perspective.
a lot of sense.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, Rennie, you want to condense what you're talking about? The
economics?
Before with the break? Yeah, the economics part. Condense it, and then we'll move on.
Well, the economics part sucks. I mean, look at the cost. The cost on law enforcement, the cost on public safety, the cost on EMS, the cost on your healthcare system. I mean, it goes on. The cost at the grocery store, prices. Go to the store now. Eggs, $7 a dozen. I mean, come on. At the cost, everything has a cost associated to it, you know. And with Bidenomics, I'm a victim. I got a payout from the World Trade Center when I got hurt down there, 9/11. I got it 2021. I watched $50,000 just on home essentials. No extravagant spending, no nothing. I watched $50,000 shrink all the way down to $500 under Biden. And it's getting worse, and it's getting worse. And that's why I had to take this lousy-ass job that I...
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Let me add a little bit to that before we move on here. There's a working theory that if the cartels were eliminated and the drug trafficking and human smuggling on both sides of the border were eliminated, that economies on both sides of the border would crash and burn, because there's so much money that's put into this whole system. And when you include the costs and the economics of cheap labor and everything else that goes along with this, it causes some serious problems.
So what are you saying? It's acceptable?
No, I'm not saying it's acceptable at all. I'm just saying that it's a working theory, and there are governments that earn tax dollars from this. There's federal tax dollars that are put into enforcement.
You mean like ATF selling guns to the cartels?
Yeah, exactly.
They can move their drugs across the border.
Right.
That's what you're talking about. All right.
There's a whole bunch of things that are in play into this, because we're talking specifically about the economics involving in this. And let's just say, Tucson, for example. I got the cartels on the Mexican side. They'll drive across the border to buy new trucks, although they're just stealing them now. But for the most part, they'll come in and buy new trucks. So you got all these Ford and Chevy dealers that'll sell, 1,000 brand new pickup trucks every month. If the cartels crash and burn, that goes away. So what I'm saying is it is in no way acceptable. But what I'm saying is that there is an incentive to keep all this shit going, regardless of the human cost. Nobody gives a shit about what happens to the people. The human cost is negligible. Or it's not negligible. It's of no consequence.
Acceptable.
Well, but you know what? We can't factor in assumable risk here either. Not at this level.
Well, no, of course not. But that's all I'm saying, is that there are so many factors at play, and that's why it's so hard to fix this shit between the government and the individuals and the corporations and the businesses and everything that's supported by human trafficking and drug smuggling. What do you do?
Well,
done.
What you do, or what you watch happen. It's a big, that's
Well, yeah.
two big things.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Falco, you have some really good points there, and the challenge is there's always challenges, right? For the last 2 years, we couldn't get baby medicine because they've been wiping the shelves out, right? The government releases drugs and guns back out to the community since the 90s. Well, since we know about as early as the 90s, probably further than that. I just want to make sure we touch on what you just said. All right. There's a lot to digest here. All right. Mr. Producer, if you could put up the government newsroom stats on the CBP enforcement stats, please. Now, let's move on to our next hot topic contention, lawful pathways to citizenship. Right? There it is, CBP enforcement stats. Yeah, scroll down there, right? And let's look at that real quick. Scroll down a little bit more. All right, so on there is the CBP enforcement stats. If you want to look this up, just Google that. There is a tremendous amount of information here. Tremendous amount. So while we're looking at that, right, I say lawful pathways to citizenship should be about balance and fairness. Lawful pathways ensure that we're welcoming those who respect our laws and will contribute positively to the United States, the good old US of A. Gentlemen, your thoughts. Chet first.
Oh boy. Yeah, as I said earlier, they make it as difficult as possible to come into this country legally. And that's why so many people, because they want the incentive to come illegally, so they're going to make it hard to get here the right way and to come in lawfully and become productive citizens of the United States of America. And it's not just immigration, it's visas too. My sister-in-law, for example, she's Colombian, she's in her 40s, she has kids that are grown, they're adults. She wanted to come here to visit Disneyland, all right? It took her 2 years to apply for a visa, and that was subsequently denied, and they wouldn't give her a reason why. It's just stupid little shit like that. And if you're going to come here legally, you've got to go through the whole process of applying at whatever embassy and country that you're in. You got to get your shots, you got to have medical stuff, you got to have all the paperwork and all your ducks in a row before they'll even consider it. And if they're going to deny you, they're just going to say, well, no, we're not going to allow you to come into the country. And then once you get here, the folks that come in illegally have no inclination to assimilate, and that's a big problem also. The legal immigrants that come here want to become U.S. citizens. They want to do the right thing. They want to be productive. And that's why there's a certain political party that doesn't want them, because they're not going to do what they're told. Okay. You go to Miami, for example, mostly Cuban immigrants down there. They're becoming a very conservative power force in like Florida politics, because they came here legally and they don't believe all this stupid bullshit that they're being told. So that's it.
Right. You touched on a lot of great points, and the unfortunate part of that is there's so much more to it.
Oh yeah.
Rennie, your thoughts?
Lawful pathway to citizenship. It's about finding a balance, right? How about you get out to the local immigration office and you fill out an application and you present your documents and you wait in line like everybody else. That's a lawful pathway to citizenship. As far as I'm concerned, anything short of that is totally unacceptable, because Chet's right. Like your sister-in-law with the visa, everybody else has to wait in line. So should all these other scumbags. Okay, it's like going to your local grocery store. There were 50 people in line at the deli, and you're going to jump ahead without a number. Yeah, right. Take it back. Take a back seat, pal.
I'm torn on this one because Now, I have a lot of different ideas, you know, being where I've been and what I've done, and we all know what that means. Well, the three of us know what that means, but here's the big picture of this whole thing. A question: do you gents think we will ever be able to 100% successfully secure our northern and southern borders based on the fact that it's not just a land border? We don't have to worry just about the people crossing over undetected on our land borders. What about our air borders and our sea borders? We don't talk about those, but those are big contention points. Chet?
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of mitigating the problem as best you can. I mean, no nation you can't secure any border 100%. I mean, it's
Why not?
possible. Well, because there's physical aspects, there's social aspects at play here. I mean,
Political.
you can make a bunker society, but if you're going to live in a free state or free economy, a free country with a free economy, you can't build a bunker around the place. You know, I mean, sure, we could put up 1,000-foot high wall and put a big dome over that here for the United States of America, to where there's only one door coming in and out, but that's not going to happen, right? And I wouldn't want to live in a country like that. So you just do the best you can with what you've got. But for this particular problem, you have to remove the incentive. And to remove the incentive, you got to determine why, what the end result is. Why is our government allowing these open borders? Why are they bringing these people in? You know, because human nature says, well, if you give me a bunch of shit for free, then I'm going to like you, right? You know, if you show up at my house with donuts every morning and give me a box of a dozen of them, I'm going to say, well, this is pretty cool. You know, you're a pretty good person. So just keep coming and keep giving my donuts, and I'll let you come into my house whenever you want. It's the same thing that our government is doing right now. The end result is, especially with Democrats and liberal politicians, is that they're thinking the plan here is to bring millions of people in, get them here, give them all amnesty, which in turn gives them citizenship, and then the payoff is the votes. They're going to say, well, you gave us all this nice stuff, so we're going to vote for you, right? So until you remove that incentive and put a stop to that process, we cannot secure our border 100%.
That is the unfortunate part of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rennie.
What I miss?
Nothing.
The question was, and I might go back to the question was, can we ever secure the borders 100%? And then, you know, based on technology, politics, and everything else that Chet just said, do you think we can ever secure, at this moment in time, we could ever secure the borders 100%?
If you bring back John Holman and Donald Trump, 99.99% yes. There you have it.
Okay. Well, in today's, where are we? Sunday, November 26th at 10:49 a.m. We can't. So, right at the end of the day, it is what it is. For us, we can only talk about it. If we're not going to be part of the solution, let's not be part of the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, what do we got here?
This is the video I asked him to play.
There it is. There it is.
Oh, yeah.
Can we get some audio on that?
This goes to prove my point.
Mr. Producer, can we play that video and get some audio on it? It's a short clip.
Yes, if we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And I am
disagree.
proud, and I'll
We
tell you
disagree.
what, I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country. So I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it. The last time you shut it down, it didn't work. I will take the mantle of shutting down. And I'm going to shut it down for border
But we
security.
believe you shouldn't shut it down.
Thank you very much, everybody.
All
I rest my case. I rest my fucking case on that video.
Too bad it didn't happen.
Yeah. You know, there's a whole nother issue with a businessman trying to be a politician in the political world, right?
Yeah.
That's a whole nother section of holy shit. We could cover that for a week probably if we wanted to. But you know, that's a great segue into where I want to go next with this. Let's talk about the intelligence gap that still exists between not only the federal government's three-letter agencies, but also, excuse me, the gap between federal, state, and local authorities with regards to sharing information, you know, in a timely fashion. Most recently, I think who said that? Farkle said that, you know, about the Canadian border crash, right? The Canadian border incident where the car crashed and exploded. The CBP was quick to declare it was a terrorist attack based on its own hasty investigation. New York State was quick to correct and refute that information based on their own hasty investigation. As it turned out, both of these agencies did not share any information with each other. Ironically, this was supposed to have been gotten better and cleared up, or at least, yeah, Chad, I see you shaking your head, man. I feel it. I know. Hold on, we're getting there. At least getting better at the catastrophic communication failure, both literally and physically during 9/11. Gents, you were both at one time part of separate three-letter agency groups. Can you give us some insight for our listeners about this communication failure? Randy, go first. I know you want it.
Okay, so, well, Chet and I were part of the same organization, USDOS, DSS. That stands for U.S. Department of State Diplomatic Security Service. And historically, federal agencies don't like sharing their information with locals or anybody else. They like to keep the cards close to the chest. They all want to be the heroes. And they all like they all want to be the heroes. And they don't like sharing information. Sad in that New York is a classic example. We get two different stories. We don't know which one is the truth. Probably never will. And it is what it is. Look at what they're doing to poor Greg Abbott again in Texas. He runs this buoy down the middle of the Rio Grande with wire, and they sue him to take the buoys and the wire out of the water. You know, they don't like doing anything with the states. They got to be the supreme being. And I'm going to go one step further on that. And it's no secret that 53% of Democrats want illegal aliens to be able to have be in the country, to have a right to vote. Naturally, it's going to add millions of new members to their voting rolls, which is going to allow them to retain power. So why interrupt that game plan with, information sharing that could actually cure the problem?
Okay, yeah, on this particular subject, anything involving federal three-letter agencies at the management level turns into a dick measuring contest. It's always going to be who has a bigger dick to try to get anything done. Now, the boots on the ground guys are completely different. One of my big thing was always interagency cooperation. I go talk to anybody about anything, and fortunately they would reciprocate. So as a result, we got a lot done. But for example, we were buying large quantities of cocaine from what we thought were some Mexican drug dealers who, when we got ready to do the final deal on the buy bus, it turned out to be FBI agents. And the FBI agents thought that we were dealers belonging to a motorcycle club from Canada, and that's who they thought they were selling this cocaine to. There was a system in place to deconflict these things so they didn't happen. But because they're the FBI, they didn't bother bother telling anybody what was going on. And that's pretty much how it works with any of these people. And how that affects the real world is that a lot of dangerous situations that shouldn't happen, but there is no communications, like Ronnie was saying. Why the hell don't they talk to each other? 9/11, the radio systems couldn't communicate. This happens all the time, and it's still 20 years later, and we're still dealing with it.
And that's not the only story about that. There are many stories about undercover agents arresting another undercover agent from a different agency.
They didn't deconflict yet.
Right.
Left hand don't know what the right hand is doing.
Yeah. All right. Let's bring on Mr. Farkle's World. Come on in, sir. There he is. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I am doing good. My mic's coming through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
You're good. We can hear you.
I'm doing good. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Hanging in there. Trying to get our numbers up, brother.
All right, there you go. Sharing's caring, people.
Yeah.
Caring is sharing or scaring. I don't know, either way you want to put it. All right. What's your thoughts on this about the communication failure between three-letter agencies and federal, state, and local authorities?
Well, which one do you want to go with? What's happening now? What happened with Whitey Bulger? What happened in friggin' JFK's assassination? How long are we going back here with our government not fucking standing up and doing and working as a team?
The Whitey Bulger one is very interesting. I love that one, but I just like the way it played out, as far as the stupidity of it all. However, I want you to cover, if you would, in general, let's call it from 1990s. Let's call it from 9/11 to now, catastrophic communication failure, and how they were supposed to start sharing information, and they don't, and now they still do not. I stuttered on that.
Really, truth be told, I just kind of look at our government like a family, and like you got your toxic family, you got your good family, but then you got your brothers and your sisters. Each branch of the government wants to think that they're the older sibling, and they don't have to answer to anybody. You could go back. I don't know. I've never served. I never worked for a government. I couldn't if I wanted to. I didn't do any of that. I don't know what's happening on the inside, but from what I see, it's like it's a family gathering on Thanksgiving. Nobody wants to work together. Nobody wants to do anything. It's like, oh, our branch is the superior branch. We don't have to answer to anybody. The lack of communication has caused a lot of issues over, at least I could say, from the 90s. I was born in 82, so I'm not going to speak on the 80s. I'm only going to speak on stuff that, I heard my mother talking about. I heard the adults talking about when I was supposed to be up in my room and stuff, tucked away, best, seen than heard, era. I just don't see our government, and I don't see our government working too much longer if they just cannot it can't come to terms with that everybody has a pot in the, situation to get the jobs done. Right here in Niagara Falls, that's why I was speaking about the Rainbow Bridges. I'm 5 minutes from there. Up here with Herschel and before with Kumo, they were communicating perfectly fine, but it was the struggle of who's gonna who's gonna be able to have the final word, and their way or not. Like that would be my take on it.
Right, exactly. It's always the big dick syndrome, right?
Yep.
Chet, you said it so succinctly earlier about it, it is what it is, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. All right. Mr. Farkle's World, thank you so much. I appreciate your insight. We all appreciate your insight.
No problem. Hey, you all have a good one. Renee, you might have a past as a cop, but right now I'll fight side by side with you on, your beliefs, even though you were put putting me in the cell, and I was talking shit about everybody that you know and stuff. Like when it comes to this situation, we are side by side.
There you
And
go.
that's the beautiful thing about it, is that America can come together as civilians. We could work better than our government can work better and understand logical and common sense situations.
That's a good point.
So, Babcock,
Yep.
you need to switch that second B to a D.
Yeah. Back in my family history, that was actually the original name somewhere 1,000 years ago or whatever.
This has been great. Falco, thank you for coming on, brother.
Thanks, buddy.
No problem. I hope that your show goes good and, you know, you stand the test of time.
Thank you, brother.
No problem.
Nice having you.
Appreciate it. All right.
I got one thing I want to add. I just got this today. I'm going to read it. I haven't been reading anything. I've been right just off the top of my brain. Like I said earlier, my brain was a scrambled egg, and it showed today. But I got this from Sebastian Gorka. Are there any limits to what they will not do to President at real Donald Trump? No, there are none. Business insider scums. They're already inciting against Trump political assassination. Okay. They're starting to recognize the border crossings and the border crisis may not be their go all catch all for votes rather than a war, but they're concerned about Trump to the point where they're starting to talk about political assassination. I just thought I would share that with our viewers. I'm done.
All right.
Are we?
All right. Excellent. So, Chet,
Yes.
the U.S.-Mexico border, right? The southern border has been a constant and most recent focus of discussions related to border security and immigration. You mentioned in a previous episode that there was an astronomical increase in southern border crossings, and as a rule of thumb, only 10% of actual immigrants are caught. Can you expand on that a little bit for us?
I can. I got some numbers to run for you too. In 2022, it was 2.76 million that actually turned themselves in, or the contacts. In 2021, it was 1 million. So that's there's 1 million more in 2022 than there was in 2021. There are 10.5 million illegals in the country as of 2021 that we're aware of. Okay, that's 3% of the population is an illegal alien. Now that number, the 10.5 million, that's more than the population, or greater than the population of 13 U.S. states. And then as of 2020, now the 10.5 million is greater than the population of 44 states, including the DC and Puerto Rico. And that's, now, if you extrapolate out 10%, so that's what, a whole bunch of people, right? I can't add this morning, but anyway, the point being is that, as we talked about before, the whole voting issue, they want amnesty, they want to make them vote Democrat, and that's how they're going to continue on with their power stuff. Okay.
All right. Hold on. Crispy Falco, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Go take care of the baby. Excellent. All right. We're going to take a short break here real quick. Chet, thank you for those stats. I was wondering where they were. I just couldn't find them, but thanks. We'll be right back, and we're going to cover the southern border here for just a short minute. All right. Thank you so much. Hang tight, folks.
just crazy out of my mind. This was a place, another time. We watched the children play. Save us, God, today. Come And I know we're going so far away from this wretched life we lead. We're open arms meet catastrophe. In the valley of the damned will be. And I know we're going so far away from this wretched life we lead. We're open arms meet catastrophe. In the valley of the damned will be. We watch the children play. Save us, God,
and what we face and what we're doing to tackle them are always important, but it seems especially well-timed this year with the dangerous implications the very fluid situation in the Middle East has for our homeland security. The reality is that the terrorism threat has been elevated throughout 2023, but the ongoing war in the Middle East has raised the threat of an attack against Americans in the United States to a whole nother level. Since the horrific terrorist attacks committed by Hamas against innocent people in Israel a few weeks ago, we've been working around the clock to support our partners there and to protect Americans here at home. We assess that the actions of Hamas and its allies will serve as an inspiration, the likes of which we haven't seen since ISIS launched its so-called caliphate several years ago. In just the past few weeks, multiple foreign terrorist organizations have called for attacks against Americans and the West. Al-Qaeda issued its most specific call to attack the United States in the last 5 years. ISIS urged its followers to target Jewish communities in the United States and Europe. Hezbollah has publicly expressed its support for Hamas and threatened to attack U.S. interests in the Middle East. And we've seen an increase in attacks on U.S. military bases overseas carried out by militia groups backed by Iran. Here in the United States, our most immediate concern is that violent extremists, individuals or small groups, will draw inspiration from the events in the Middle East to carry out attacks against Americans going about their daily lives. That includes not just homegrown violent extremists inspired by a foreign terrorist organization, but also domestic violent extremists targeting Jewish or Muslim communities. We've already seen that with the individual we arrested last week in Houston who'd been studying how to build bombs and posted online about his support for killing Jews. And with the tragic killing of a 6-year-old Muslim boy in Illinois in what we're investigating as a federal hate crime. But as I said a few moments ago, on top of the homegrown violent extremist and domestic violent extremist threat, we also cannot and do not discount the possibility that Hamas or another foreign terrorist organization may exploit the current conflict to conduct attacks here on our own soil. We have kept our sights on Hamas and have multiple ongoing investigations into.
All right. That was a great video, great video clip, specifically based on what we're talking about. Right now, the FBI Director Wray, like him or not, he's talking about what happened, and he's talking about what could happen, and that they're actually increasing border security. Now, the upside of that is excellent, right? The downside of that is we're going to continue to get more of what we've gotten, right? Chet, before the break, you said, was it 2.6 million people in the what was that? What was that actual number?
2022 is 2.76 million crossings that they've actually had contact with.
Yeah, that's a lot. So, what I want to bring up before, but now's a good time to bring this. Ren, you got something to say before I hit into this?
Before we get on, just quickly, so I don't lose my train of thought. The other day on Fox News, I posted a video on my Facebook page. Fox News had on a guy named Aaron Cohen. He was an IDF operative, special forces dude. I've trained with him in Israel, and he was talking about Hamas and attacking the United States, and he stressed 2 areas of concern that Americans should be concerned with, and that is first one is schools, second one is hospitals. Those 2 things people need to be paying attention to. If you see something, say something. I like it. I like that phrase. If you see something, say something. But a lot of it's bullshit. You call the cops. Yeah, I see this, that, the other thing. And they're too busy to deal with it, and they never show up. But anyway, Aaron Cohen says 2 things you be concerned with: schools, hospitals. Take it for what it's worth.
All right, cool. Thank you. I just want to touch on something real quick that it hit me while I was doing the research for this, and it's about climate change, right? Not this, so blah, blah, blah bullshit, right? Climate changes have introduced alarming new challenges to patrolling America's land and maritime borders, with rising sea levels, severe storms, flooding rains, and scorching droughts, making border zones more difficult to monitor effectively. As fires, mudslides, and hurricanes intensify, the demands on customs and border personnel escalates as well. Gents, very quickly, what are your thoughts on the technological advancements being hampered by uncontrolled weather hazards? Rennie?
Well, if you want my honest opinion without hurting anybody's feelings.
I hurt everybody's feelings, bro. No one cares.
If you want to talk to me about climate change, let's start with John Kerry, Greta Thunberg, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, all these politicians. Park their planes. Let's start using electric cars. Okay. I think we're just in a progressive weather cycle that happens every 10,000 years. History proves it. So I don't think climate change really has anything much to do with anything. A lot of these fires that you're talking about, a lot of them were arson. Some of them were lightning strikes, but the Forest Service bears some responsibility by not doing their due diligence and controlling the brush that's burnable. And so that's my take on the climate change portion.
Right. I wasn't specifically pointing towards climate change as the reason, but the things that have been causing, technological advancements hampered by uncontrolled weather hazards, whether or not it was climate change or not. That was my contention.
Okay, I read it then. I was reading it wrong.
Yeah, no worries.
has
I
released
understand. No
a
worries.
key report on climate change after a delay on approval, and that report details the losses and the damages as a result of climate change and the actions that can be taken to combat it. Ginger Z is here. She is not just the chief meteorologist, she's also the managing editor of the ABC News Climate Unit, and she's got a full page of notes on this new report already. So, Ginger, what are the main findings that you took away from this report?
Yeah, digging in because we get these. This is their 6th of such report. We've seen these types of words before, but I feel like Secretary General Antonio Guterres has had to get into the thesaurus because he has to use it every time, this time saying we need a quantum leap in climate action to combat what we've done. Warp speed is what we need to move at to make this happen. And of course, we're talking about being nowhere close to the Paris Agreement's goals. And I mean, we're on track in some places saying 2+ degrees at least. You're seeing this graphic right there. That's the current path we're on. The green and then the blue is the serious right turn we'd have to take to make it back to 1.5. That's before pre-industrial levels for our greenhouse gas emissions. And you're all saying, okay, but 1.5 degrees Celsius doesn't sound like a lot. What does it mean to me? Well, here they put it in human terms. So as we warm, a baby born in 2020 is going to feel the impacts in a high emissions scenario to the point of, say, going to 4 degrees Celsius, where water and food scarcity would be widespread. We would see the potential for, people to have problems, not just with groundwater, but with, of course, natural disaster and those increasing. But on top of all of that, this is about equality. If you've got money, you're going to be able to adapt or to move. Climate refugee is becoming more of a real thing in that extreme high scenario.
Right. That's for the future, Chad. I see you laughing over there.
Yeah.
We'll leave the commentary short for that, but that's for the future, right? That's what we're looking at based on whoever compiled that information to give them to report that at this time, right? I was specifically trying to post. Yeah. So, I'm just reading some of the comments and yep, not a bunch of shit, right? All right, moving on. So go ahead, Rainey.
It might work.
What's that?
Chinese weather spy balloon.
You mean more of them, right? It's the ones we don't shoot down?
Yeah, we can monitor. Yeah.
That's some more craziness. All right. In closing, gentlemen, anything else you want to say before we close out another exciting episode of Situational Awareness Matters, Real Talk with Real People?
No, well, I'm looking forward to the show next week. We got a special guest coming on. I think this one's going to hit the nail on the head. It's going to knock it out. I'm hoping today knocked it out of the park, but in case the ball bounces off the wall, we'll see. Next week should be a great show.
Chet, anybody you want to shout out before we?
Yes. If you're in Central Florida looking for a good place to shoot, go to Volusia County Gun Club. They're online. You can find them. And if you need a good instructor while you're there, look up Shooting with Sherry. That's Sherry. She does a lot of one-on-one personal instructions in basic marksmanship and pistol handling.
Excellent.
Hey, Blaze, could you post the one I sent you on Boston Burn?
While he's doing that, gentlemen, I want a shameless plug moment here. So please check out our collective new book on Amazon, Through Innocent Eyes, Discovering the Courage Code, still #1 in its category. It is an active shooter threat response action story for young teens written in a language that they will understand. My background picture that you've been looking at this whole entire time, I'm going to get out of the way here. That is the cover picture of our book. And there is the other book that we were talking about. However, shameless plug. What? Shameful, shameless, whatever.
Blaze, can you post that one again? Yeah, Boston Burn. That's Special Agent Wayne Miller from the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, personal friend of mine. He's been on our show. Very accomplished author about all his years investigating fires and explosions. You can go to his website, buy his book. He'll sign it and send it off to you. Wayne's a great guy. Appreciate it if you think about him this holiday season.
Now that's another really good plug right there. That was excellent. All right. Ladies and gentlemen and children of all ages above 18.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching today. Stay tuned next week for another controversial topic that we're not afraid to cover. Stay informed, stay engaged, and be part of the conversation.
Stay safe.
Happy Sunday.
All that.